There's probably not too many people who would look at this tree and think, hey, let's eat that. I mean, come on, it's a cactus. How do you even get past those big needles? Well, today I'm going to show you not only how to cook and eat cactus, but how you can enjoy it in both savory and sweet applications. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook no matter your skill level. And today we are turning our eyes and taste buds to the cactus. Specifically the prickly pear cactus, which has two edible parts. First are the big pads that you see here. These are called nopales. And then there is the fruit. This is called a prickly pear. You might also hear it called a cactus pear, or if you're shopping in a Mexican market like I do, a tuna. Now these cacti are common in Mexico and parts of the United States. Where I live in Southern California, they literally grow in the wild. Which leads me to ask you, are you familiar with these and do these grow where you live? Let's begin first with the savory application and talking about cactus paddles, those nopales. Now you can buy whole cactus pads as well as cut up cactus, which are called nopalitos, fresh in the store, and you can also find them pickled. Well, at least you can if you live where I live. Again, in Southern California, these are quite common. If you're having trouble finding them at your local grocery store, you might want to try a Mexican market where they should be pretty common. Now, if you've never bought cactus before, or well, heck, even if you really like the stuff like I do, I would advise against buying these whole fresh pads because they do take some work. These still have those sharp spines on them and you need to cut them off with a knife, and then you need to cut kind of this exterior off, and well, it's just kind of a process. Honestly, if you want them whole, I would just buy them pre-packaged like this. They've already been processed, they have all those spines, all those thorns cut off, and they're just really easier to use. Or better still, just buy them in a package like this. If you've never worked with cactus before, this is a really easy way to do it. They've already been cut, they've got all the thorns removed, these are ready to use. Well, almost ready. So I just got these fresh out of the bag, and as you can see, they've got this really kind of like sticky substance, almost like okra, and that's normal. That sliminess is just, well, part of cactus's nature. So before you use them, you should rinse them really well and get that sliminess off. Now let's talk about how these things taste. And well, you can eat these raw, and they taste kind of like maybe a tart green bean. They're kind of earthy. They're kind of crisp, yet still kind of moist. They're really good in salads or raw applications like that. But honestly, I think these are better either simmered or sauteed. And once you cook them, you can use them in a variety of things. You can use them in scrambled eggs, you can use them in bean dishes, in soups, basically any way that you might use a mild green pepper, well, you can use a nopales, one of these cut up cactus pads. If you want to use the entire pad itself, you can do that too. You could actually grill the whole thing and kind of char it up. So for this application though, let me show you how I like to cook them and how I advise someone who's never worked with cactus before how to cook them. And that's just, well, simmering them in some water. So I've got a small pot of water just boiling here. This is that enameled steel pot that I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. It works out really well for an application like this. So we've got some water boiling. I'm going to put a nice pinch of salt in here. And then what we'll do is we'll just dump these nopales right into the boiling water. And all we're going to do is just simmer these for about 10 minutes or so until they are nice and tender. They might turn color, they might turn a little more pale, but these are just going to soften up and then they will be ready for use basically however you want to use them. These have been cooking for about 10 minutes. I've tried them. I know that they're nice and tender, so I'm gonna kill the heat here. And I don't know if you can see this, but see the colors kind of changed. They're lost some of that brightness and they've kind of mellowed out, and they've mellowed out in flavor too. So what I'm gonna do now is drain these and rinse them briefly with some cold water. And here we go. We have these cooked nopalitos that are ready for anything. Delicious. They're kind of tart. They're kind of earthy. They're just kind of unlike anything you've ever had before, and they're really, really good. Now, as I said, simmering is probably the easiest method, but you can also saute them. But if you do saute them, make sure you rinse them really well to get rid of that slimy stuff before you cook them. Now let's talk about these guys, the prickly pear, the sweet version of the cactus. And the cool thing about these is you don't even have to cook them. Like any fruit, these are just pretty much ready to eat. You will have to peel them though, and like those other cactus pads, I recommend buying these with all those spines taken out so that you're not having to worry about pricking your finger on one of these prickly pears. So we're just going to take a paring knife. In this case, we're going to use our little bird's beak paring knife that was one of the trivia questions a few weeks ago. And what we'll do is we'll just cut off the top, we'll cut off the bottom, and then we're just going to take our knife and go gently around all the edges, get that thick skin off, just like this. And once the skin is off, you can just cut it up. Now what you're going to notice is that these are just chock full of seeds. But the good news is you can actually eat these. And prickly pear, as you might guess, is really, really juicy. There's a lot of water in there. They're kind of sweet. They taste almost like a pear. And again, you can eat those seeds, just kind of swallow them. Now, if you don't want to bother with all the seeds in here, you can kind of either try to pick them out, which could be a chore, or just kind of strain them, which would be easier. Now, as with this fruit, again, you can eat it raw, you can use it in fruit salads, smoothies, whatever. I think you can even make jam out of this, but this is prickly pear. Now, this is a verde example, a green one. You can also find them in shades of red and even orange. And usually the darker in color they are, the sweeter. So a red prickly pear would be sweeter than this green example, but this is sweet even as it is. So there's a little Cactus 101. I hope this helps you. Maybe it intrigues you. And hopefully next time you see it in the store, you pick some up, you cook it, and well, hopefully you like it. Let me know. Okay, trivia time. Last week I asked you to identify this odd contraption. Yes, it's yet another one of my thrift store finds, and several of you knew exactly what this thing is. We had Bryant Allen Smith 8303 and Michelle Rock 5527 correctly identify this as a sandwich maker, a sandwich toaster. Yes, this is a made in England nut brown vintage sandwich toaster. In all honesty, I have not tried it out yet, but I plan to very soon and possibly make a video of what this thing churns out. Now for this week's trivia question, in keeping with our kind of weird fruits, who's going to be the first to identify this thing? Look at this guy. What could this thing that is found in the produce section possibly be? If you know what it is or have a guess, put that in the comments below, and I will let you know in next week's video. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and until next time, happy cooking.